Autism is one of those things where, depending on who you ask, it could either be a great hindrance or a great curse. Starting up the day of washing myself up, making sure my clothes are clean, the water's boiling, and my coffee keeps me up. I do try to stick to a good routine, especially since this is the first time I'm ever living on my own, 10 hours away from where I'm originally from, Los Angeles. And sticking to a healthy enough breakfast, and trust me, I do use vegetables more often. Just because you see bacon does not mean I don't fit in greens every now and then. But in all honesty, it is great being away from home for the first time ever. I should have tried to seek out a place on my own a while ago, but hey, I had other things to do, and it's Los Angeles. Rent ain't exactly cheap, especially if you want a good place where you're not going to get screamed at by a bunch of crackheads day in and day out. It's really good thing for me to keep in mind that even though I'm now far away from anyone I know, good friends or close family members, it is good to start in a new environment and start from complete scratch where barely anyone knows you, or hell, no one knows you. So, any connections you made on your own. But on those first Saturdays of the month, I get to see my friends.
Ludwick. I'm turning 28 this year. My background is I have been diagnosed with autism around very young, like 3, I would say. I got hired again as a returning scare actor. I got to work in The Exorcist mix. Hence, I wasn't on the front lines, I was in Blackout, in which, being a Blackout performer is, they don't see you. You're either operating the animatronic scares, the push carts, the puppets. Like you see like a cart being pushed right at you during a scare, get scared
Mm-hmm.
by a push cart prop. That's probably
Mm-hmm.
someone like me performing. And in 2022, I got to be a clown from the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And I played Jumbo. If you've seen the movie, according to
Mm-hmm.
the history of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, he has the most screen. If you've seen the movie, you'll identify him like right away. In 2022, before I did Killer Clowns as a scare actor, I decided to join the company as a theme park production assistant. I worked with characters like Scooby Doo, The Simpsons, the Raptors, and coming up is the 1 year anniversary since we opened Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios Hollywood. I got to work with characters like
Nice.
Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Toad.
Nice, man. Nice.
Any other questions? Any
No,
other
that's
questions
actually
you?
that's pretty awesome, man. I think
I'm
it
happy
won't
to
be
send
hard.
you photos, not as my character directly of me in
Yeah,
the costume or any of the
yeah,
props like that, but I
yeah,
will send like like on the website you see like artwork posted on
yeah.
their website for every house. I will send you
Don't worry, man. Send me whatever you feel comfortable with.
All right then. Hello there. My name is Daniella Kingisng. I'm 26 years old and I am Mexican American. I am a cisgender heterosexual female.
And are you on the autism spectrum?
Yes, I am.
And do you remember what age you were diagnosed with autism?
I was diagnosed with autism when I was 5 years old, but I did not learn I was autistic until I was around 12 years old. And that was completely by accident when I was when I decided to sneak through my mom's mail and I saw a letter from like Section 8 talking about how my autism was affecting my school performance and basically just a chart that talks about my overall growth.
You had to discover that yourself.
Yeah, I did. My mom said, "Oh, I was going to tell you, but I just never got to it."
Wow.
But it just seemed like she was trying to avoid talking about a subject that was a bit like painful for her. My uncle
Okay.
is
Well,
autistic too, and so
okay.
she I mean she was never ashamed of it, but it was
Hmm.
hard for her, especially because of how hard his own life was, my uncle's life was.
Right, because I think back in your uncle's time, and hell, I even have an uncle who's on the autistic spectrum, and I think my dad is also a little bit on the autism spectrum. They
Yeah.
didn't really. I don't think they had the same support system that we do nowadays, where they'll actively try to help you with one-to-ones, IEPs, if you ever had those in school,
No, my
or
uncle had none of that. No. You see,
like.
my mom grew up in Mexico and everything, and they grew up in a really tiny ranch in the mountains and everything. So they didn't have anything. Just like it was just a tiny like rural community. So what happened is that no one understood what my uncle had. They just thought he was dumb like that. So because
Oh,
of that, like his teacher was like really abusive towards him. Like he would just whack his hands over and over and over with a ruler because he thought he was being an idiot, but no one understood. And like a lot of the
right.
kids in like the village, like they would just make fun of him mercilessly. My
Yeah.
grandparents, they were good people, but they were old fashioned, and they just thought that they were trying to discipline him. They thought he was being difficult. They didn't know what his disability
Right.
was. But my grandmother, the good news is that she did make amends with my uncle, like, you know, about how she treated him. And because of my mother witnessing all that, it was pretty hard for her to talk about, like, to talk about my diagnosis with me. Because so when I said, Mom, were you ever going to tell me that, like, why I was different? And she just said, I was eventually. Just, I was. But like, even back then, it didn't really seem like she was going to do that.
Okay, so who wants to play a game?
Woo!